All right. Hello everyone and welcome back to Satisfactory. So last time we were here, we had basically just done some basic housekeeping in the factories that we already had. We'd basically caught up to the point where we should be everywhere with regards to being at the start of Phase 5. So now we get to actually properly start Phase 5, and that means fixite trigons and time crystals are our main goals for today. And that will get us quantum encoding, not quite blueprints, and peak efficiency. So we're going to get Mark 6 belts pretty soon. So we just need to get some factories going. Now, fixite trigons are just made from fixite ingots, and we can use iron, aluminum, or caterium. And if we want to use iron, it's a lot of iron. If we want to use caterium, it's not nearly as much, and then there's no way I'm ever using aluminum for this, because that would be an insane thing to do. So we're going to build trigons at the usual megascale rate, which is 10 of these. So we need 300 trigons, which is 100 fixite ingots, which is either going to be 2400 iron or 600 caterium. I think the iron will probably be easier, just because iron is pretty easy to get. And then we can also do 400 reanimated SAM. Although this would be less than 600, right? This would be... how much would it be? 400 caterium ingots and 300 SAM? No, iron is definitely still easier to get. So let's do that. And then the other thing we need to do is time crystals, which we're going to get 60 of per minute, and that's 120 diamonds, which I'm fairly certain we're doing oil-based, which is just one pipe of crude oil. So let's find somewhere that is likely to have a very large amount of iron, and preferably a pipe of crude oil somewhere. So we've got like 1 billion iron ore nodes over there. We could do that, but it doesn't have any SAM near it. Okay, up here. How about up here? This has 1 normal and 2 impures. It has SAM, and then it has crude oil. But that's probably not enough, unless we bring this one all the way up. And then we could obviously gather the iron over here in the dune desert, but I guess there is SAM up there. How much? Impure is going to be like 300, right? But we need like 400, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we need 400 reanimated SAM for this, which is a lot. Alright. That's going to be an issue, actually. Are all the SAM nodes impure nodes? Okay, there is a pure node here of reanimated SAM. And it's right by the swamp where we have a pure node of iron, 2 normals, and another pure. Alright, is there any oil here? There is. There's oil down there. Alright, so we can basically just do everything here in the swamp. So, step 1, find this spot, which is just gonna be off to the east somewhere. So let's head over to here. And I think what we're going to do is we're probably just going to just attach the reanimated SAM to drones as well for in case we need it later. Because you can do like conversion stuff to make other components, which could be marginally helpful. Alright, so we are going to head on over. And it's pretty far to the east. I wonder if we'll be able to see it from up here. It should be down sort of by that waterfall type area by the swamp. It might be underground, as SAM sites frequently are. But hopefully we'll be able to see it from here. Alright, we should be... Okay, it's due south of us from here. So let's head this way. And... I don't know, do we have power down there? Probably have power grid nearby at least. I'm thinking if we can just jump down. Okay, I see the SAM. And it is relatively close to some water extractors. So let's swap to jetpack and just make our way down. We can actually grab this ladder halfway to recover a little bit. There we go. And we keep on going. Yeah, like no horizontal momentum here. The parachute would actually have been better for this, because that can give you horizontal momentum. Alright, so the SAM is there. We actually have a power line right there. Alright, swap back to the hover pack. And, right, the monsters are fighting each other. That's fun. Well, they can have fun with that. I am just going to ignore them. And plop down a Miner Mark III. And power it on. So this is maxed overclocked. It would be to 1200 if we had access to the belts, but it's going to be 780 instead. Which actually... Hang on, let me think. This is... Fixite trigons are what we're trying to make. We need 300 of these, which means we need 100 ingots. If we have 100 ingots, then that means we're going to need 400 reanimated SAM, which means we're going to need 1600 of that stuff. But if we do the Caterium recipe, we only need 300, which means 1200. Alright, so let's do the Caterium recipe instead, because reanimated SAM is hard to get. Now, how much Caterium do we need for that? We need 400 ingots, which with pure alt is 800 Caterium ore. So we need either a max overclocked pure nodes on super fast belts, or we need 2 normal nodes max overclocked. So there's that one which is being used, that one which is a single normal, and that one which is a singular normal as well. Let's see, this is going to be pretty expensive. We also have just 2 more impure SAM things there and there, which I guess we could use, but let's let's just grab that Caterium and bring it up here. So we're gonna have to make some power shards, actually. I have slugs, I just haven't crafted them. So let's see here. Power shards. Pop that in. I don't want to waste a purple slug on getting this started. So can I just like have you make one empty canister set first? There you go. Now that the summer sloop is locked in, it's weird that you have to do that, but whatever. Now we get these guys going, and it's going to take a while because I don't have the power shards to accelerate this. So we want to bring the Caterium to here because we are going to need to upgrade the belts on this to Mark 6 once we get them in order to have enough SAM. So we don't want to have incredibly long Mark 5 belts going halfway across the planet. We just want it to be nice and quick. Alright, so this is getting us our power shards, and we are very close. We're close-ish, at least, to having artificial power shards and just not having to worry about this again, and then we can max overclock every building and be very, very space efficient. So that will be exciting. Alright, so we have that. We're up to 40 power shards. And I could crunch down the yellow slugs, but there's no real need to do that. So let's head on south towards the Caterium. And we're going to bring power along with us. Actually, let's make it the big power poles. So there you go. You get hooked up. And then we're going to move along. And we just need to place these every so often and prevent ourselves from running out of hover pack range. Might as well grab this Mercer Sphere, although I don't know if I'm ever going to use it. It might go towards eventually upgrading the Dimensional Depot capacity, which would be nice. Alright, so we need to head west, sort of southwest for one of them, and just due west of here for the other. So that can go there. Okay, that was a mistake. We sent that too far, and I don't have the zip line equipped. Where is? Oh, I do have the zip line equipped. It's just over here in my inventory. So let's zip line over there, and off we go. So there's another SAM site, and there's Mercer Spheres every 5 feet in this area. What the heck? What's going on with that? So we are going to drop down and grab this one as well. Alright, that's that. Then there's another Mercer Sphere along this way. Seriously, what is going on here? Why is this area just Mercer Sphere Central? Like, they're not even hidden or anything. They're just all sitting out in the open. So we grab that. And then we're going to need to jetpack up to the power line. So we are too far for the hover pack. Alright, now we are here. How much further? Just a little bit more this way. And we should be almost there. Alright. Now we're here. And probably just one more power pole. And yeah, I can see it over there. So we're just going to place that line down. And the zip line did not catch, but that's fine. We got there anyways. Miner Mark III, there you go. So this is going to give us 600 Caterium ore out of the, I believe, 800 that we need. And we're going to need to get you powered up. And then we're going to need to bring the belt. We're going to need to bring a belt all the way back where we came from. Which is going to be a bit tricky because we're going to have to deal with terrain now. Which we can help with some foundations at least. So that can get this out to here, which should give us a head start going over this way. And that little area in there was too far from any power poles, so we almost fell to our deaths, but we managed to get back within range. Alright, Caterium is getting on this belt, right? Right, cool. So we need to just keep on bringing this over. And where did my power poles go? I assume they would have gone up that way. And these power lines being too far apart is actually a serious nuisance. Alright, now we're up here. We need to find the belt again. Alright, we can just climb up the belt like that. And then we have to bring it up a little bit more. Alright, let's just swap to the jetpack for this. It's going to be much more convenient than constantly dealing with it getting in and out of power range. Alright, that didn't place right. We need to go up to there. And then up that little bit of the ledge. Over this way. And we keep going over. And we keep it going. We should be like more than halfway there, right? Yeah, we're pretty close. Okay, did I just... How are these being upgraded? What tier belt was I using that wasn't Mark 5s this whole time? Was I using Mark 4s? Alright. That's weird. Also, how did I manage to use Mark 4s like all the way back to there? Okay, these ones are Mark 5s. Hopefully I continued to be correct prior to that point. And we can upgrade that last bit and keep moving. Alright, so this belt just sort of goes along the middle of this area. Apparently it can clip through a wall there. And we just keep going. This would have probably been much easier with a sky bridge. But too late for that now. We're doing all the horrible across terrain belt building. Alright. Yeah, so this is where the hover pack gets annoying, when you have to click something relatively precisely. Like up there, and then we are... I think we're practically there, right? It's just sort of this way. So we go over there, and... Is it down below here, or is it... No, it's that over there. Cool. Alright, so that is one belt of Caterium delivered to the destination. And this is going to be close enough. Now we have to go and off pretty much directly west to get the other Caterium belt. So let's get that going. And we can use combination jetpack, zipline to make serious tracks. Okay, that didn't even get built in time. Alright, we're up here. This drop pod I already grabbed. Let's dismantle it. This is my bauxite mine, apparently. So now we need to head a lot further south. So you go there and then continue over this way. Yeah, there's just sort of sand all over this area. Alright, where are we going? I guess we can pop that over here. And then just land for a bit. It should be like directly beneath us. Where are you? Are you like around the edge somewhere? Or is there some secret underground cave? There, no, there it is. Alright. I found it. It's just sort of mildly camouflaged. Alright, so now we are here. We can go Miner Mark III. And the other one's doing 600 and we need 800. So this can just do 200, I guess. And then you get powered up. And now we have to take you pretty much directly east. And it can just be Mark III belts. That's not directly east. This is directly east. So off we go. And we just have to keep heading over this way. And just keep going. Quick corrections. No, we're heading just about right. Just slightly north, but mostly east. We just go this way. And this is the sort of weird rocky terrain that it's in. You need to go north of this pillar, basically. Creatures in the way. Why? Why did you have to just stand there? Alright, so this just keeps going. And keeps going. Alright, now we're around this way. And almost there. Just confirm that there is stuff on this belt. No, it's going to be too far back. Alright, so pretty much just directly this way, and we will be there. Alright, there we go, I can see it now. Alright, so then this just goes over this way. And we are here. Okay, so now that we have all that, we need to start setting up a factory. So we are going to need just sort of a decently tall, but not too tall foundation for the Caterium processing. And let's honestly have that like here. Here, and then just sort of over that. Is that tall enough? Is that tall enough to fit a water extractor under? Actually, that's very important. Alright, water extractor would go somewhere like that. And then this, no, we need it to be literally just like the tiniest bit taller. So let's dismantle this. And then place it in, or like up there. And now we can fit all the water extractors underneath this. And we should be able to fit a good amount of Caterium processing in here. So first of all, we have a power line on this foundation. Second of all, we need to sort of finish that off and blow up those trees. Alright, so now we have our refineries. Do I have a blueprint for this? I have a 2x refinery and a 3x refinery blueprint. Let's figure out, because I think we might be able to set this up to be speed limited somehow. So we have a refinery, we have pure Caterium. So this is 24 to 12. And we need, what, 400? Or no, 400? Yeah, I think. Yeah, we need 400 Caterium. So, 400 divided... No, I'm not in that thing. 400 divided by 12 is 33.3 of these. So, let's see here. If we just go 10, that would be 40, and then that would give us the ability to speed limit these, I believe. Because it would be 20 in. Yes, so we can do this, split them up into batches of 3, and then place down a whole bunch of them. Alright, this is not even remotely designed properly. Wonderful. Alright, that's annoying. Let's get a blueprint in to fix it then. So you are there. Then we load up. Ah, okay, that was made in a smaller blueprint designer, as was that one. Alright, well, we'll just make a fresh one then. So we have refineries. And we can get in, let's see, we need to leave some space on either side, but this should be plenty. And actually, let's see how many we can fit. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can fit 4 refineries in. Actually, do I have a blueprint for that? I probably do. Somehow I don't seem to. Now, if we do 4 refineries and pure Caterium, then this would be 48 Caterium out, 96 Caterium in. Is there any way of making that more useful? So if we were to get this up to like 15, then it would be great, but that would be a lot of power shards, and we don't have automatic power shards yet. So I think we're just going to leave it at this, and let's see here. If we had 400 divided by 12, that would be 33. So if we go 400 divided by just any number greater than 33, so 36 would probably be... Well, 36 would be easy, but it wouldn't really go with... No, it would. It would be... Because 36 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, right? So if we do this, then it'll work out nicely. So let's paste that across. And then we put in our conveyor splitters, which just go like that and like that. Then we have a fluid pipe which goes along like this, up there, and then over to the other side, and it stops in at each of these. Like that, and sends the pipes down in. So we do that, and then we can also get this row of splitters in, which can also be Mark 1 belts, like that. And then we get the outputs, which we need to bring our power further along, and because I've entirely fallen off the entire platform. So we just have to take this power line and bring you just all the way over there, and that will give us the ability to do stuff on this. So now we just have to set all the mergers up, and each individual one of these is not going to be contributing all that much, but the overall thing is going to have 400 outputs, so let's use 4 belts there. And we may as well get this to auto connect up. So we just do that, and then we want a power pole to save a whole bunch of clicks there. Alright, so this is all set, and we can call you 4x refinery, and then we can clear that, and we just need to place down 9 of those, which this space is not great for. We might have to go further up, or maybe we can make it work like going along this way. Yeah, that probably will end up working. So where is our giant foundation brick blueprint? There it is. So you can go in blueprint snap mode. And then you go over that way. And then you need to go over this way. Like that. And like this. And then we need to fill in some of this area as well. And then let's blow up these trees. It's very satisfying to do. There we go. Get rid of that one. And, alright, that downward momentum really messed with that throw, which is unfortunate. Okay, that one we way overshot. There we go. Alright, so this is basically the space that we have. And we just need to get a whole bunch of blueprints in here. So you can go to default build mode, and we need some space in front of them for belt splitter type stuff. We also need to not run into that giant pillar, so let's send you another row back, and this should be fine. Then we will nudge you all the way over this way, just to get as many of these in side by side as possible. Alright, that's probably good enough. So now you get to go blueprint, auto connect, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and why will that not snap? 6. Alright, let's get this powered. So you can connect into there, and then you go across there, and then you go across this way to get all of those. So we have, what, 6 of these, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 24 refineries. We just need a couple more, and we need to get rid of this random little tree sticking through. Alright, we need to clear out this ladder, which is in the way. There you go. And extend that out as far as it'll go, and then hope we can fit 3 more of these in. 1. No, not even close. Okay, in that case, we are going to have to do a very, very awkward little wraparound situation. So let's go to here and give more space on that side. Okay, let's see here. If that is 6, actually, hang on. So we have 36 of these. That's 11.1. So 11.1 times 24 is that, times 28 is that, times 32 is some weird number, and times 36 is the only point where it approaches a reasonable number. So we can't do convenient splittings, because what I would want to do is have like half of it, because I have my belt of 600 inputs and my belt of 200 inputs. So if we go 300 divided by 11.1, that's 27, which is not a multiple of 4. So yeah, figured as much. So we're just going to make this really awkward and weird then. Alright, you go to default mode. And we flip you around so that all of the outputs are in the center. And then we get you so that those are all aligned, I guess. And you go in there. And then one more. And I guess actually you can technically do whatever that is. Wouldn't be my first choice, but it's fine, I guess. You do need to merge those two belts up. Alright, so then let's get the rest of these powered. So that is powered. And then we need to get it across to this one. So we get that, and then we just connect that little bit across. Alright, so this whole thing is powered on. Now, we need to figure out how much water this is. This is going to be, what, 800 water? So we're going to need more than a full pipe of water, which should be fine. And then we just need to put the Caterium in, which is going to be actually a little bit annoying because of the belt organization we have here being slightly wrong. So let's see, this is 600, that is 200. So we need to split it into batches of 3. So we need it to be, what, 2 batches of 266, which seems difficult. Alright, this is actually going to be a fun little challenge, I guess. So first we can split this one into 3, and then we'll have 4 batches of 200. And then we have to figure out how to go from there into a 4 to 3. Actually, do I have a... I have a 2 to 3 and a 5 to 4, but not a 4 to 3. Okay, let's look at this. So this takes the 2 things in first. Then it sends half that way, half that way. Then this merges up to be half of that plus half of that, which then splits off. Alright, I think this actually just works. I think this blueprint just works and accounts for the maximum possible speed that we need to be dealing with. So let's get the Caterium into this. And we might need to... No, we don't need to accelerate these belts. They're already accelerated. Fantastic. Alright, so that goes there, that goes there. Then we just put the Caterium into each of these. And like that. Okay. Okay, there's a problem. That needs to be upgraded. As does that. And then the rest of this is all good, I believe. And then we have these 3 merger bits as our 3 outputs. So now we have to get a 1-to-3 splitter across all of these guys. So how much is going into here? 22, 44. Wait, actually this is quite a lot, isn't it? That's... So at this point, it's 88, because there are 4 of these. Yes, this is 88.8, so we need this to be Mark IIs. And then you go across to all of those spaces. Then we go over to this one, and you get a 1-to-3 splitter, which can be Mark IIs, not Mark IIIs. There, there, and there. And then we have this one, which is going to be a bit weird. So you need to be like facing that way. And then you go there, there, and there. And then these 2 belts go around the corner and all the way over this way. That's as far as you can go, and you are going to go up to the same distance, more or less. Then you turn in there like that. And you go around a bit more, and then forwards a little bit, and then into there. Alright, so that is that. And now we just have to attach each of our 2-to-3s into one of these. So you are going to be going all the way down that way. You are going to be going right over to here. And that's about as narrow as you can go. And then you are going to be headed all the way over to here. And you're going to have to do some weird maneuvering to get around that rock. And then in there, wait, I was using Mark IVs there. It shouldn't matter, but we'll make those Mark Vs, and we'll make you Mark Vs, and then you go down this way and in. Alright, so that should be all sorted, and then obviously it's just going to filter through and then be done. Now this has a further distance to go, which is why it's backing up like this, and that's fine, we don't need to worry about that. Alright, now we need to get our 800 water, so we are going to drop down here. And that is 120, 240, 360, 480, 600, 720, 840. Alright, so we get these brought into pipes. And then we have to get these brought into pipes as well. So that is one batch done. Then we have to get this batch combined up. And so now neither of these are full, which means that we shouldn't have any serious problems with pipe capacity. I just want to make you a Mark III power pole and connect you back to there. And now you can power on all of these water extractors. It's always nice to give them a little bit of a head start, because their stuff doesn't work until there's a lot of water in the system. Alright, so now we just have to bring these pipes up and bring them to sufficiently different places that they don't end up competing for the same throughput. So one of them can just go up immediately right here. And right, you have to connect into the floor hole, not out from the floor hole. So you go up like that. And then the other one, well, we can have its pipe just go up here as well, so we don't have to constantly be dealing with above and below the factory. It looks like there is enough head lift for this, so that's cool. And then this, we are just going to bring you all the way down over here, where you can connect into that. And then this one has to make the journey around to here. Alright, this Caterium looks wrong. So this is definitely... Oh wait, no, it is. Something is here as being unnecessarily limited. Okay. I think I know what the problem is. The problem is that this doesn't balance from this side over to this side and vice versa. So we need to get these two fixed up before they get to there. So let's build a nice, neat 2-to-2 balancer. So we shouldn't need that much space for it, just give us some space back to there. So what we need to do is we need to split each of them into 2, and then combine those 2s up with each other, which I guess, see if there's a good way of doing this. So you can each go directly across to there, and then you go across to there, you go up and across to there, but that's too steep. So we need you to go, I guess, across to there and then down. And then we take these out and connect these just across into the 2-to-3 splitter. And now these get the floor holes directly beneath them, which is almost in the way of the SAM, but it isn't, so we're good. And then these just come down like so. And I don't know where that tried to snap to, but it was not where I needed it to be. Alright, so then this belt goes up into there. Did I build these backwards? I did. I think I built those backwards. So let's have them do this side. Now they can't be built backwards. So they just come all the way down to ground level. And then that goes in. And that goes in. Alright, we seem to have more or less filled up this entire area. And now they aren't running because they don't have water. So I assume that whatever headlift magic happened to begin with has failed us. So let's give these guys some extra little boost. Actually, we probably only need like a Mark 1. That'll save a little bit of power, which I guess is good. So there we go. Mark 1 pumped like halfway up should be more than enough. And we do see water going through here. Alright, so that is that. And now we just head all the way over this way, where this is our output. So we need to go up to another floor for this. And that's going to be up like that, and then across a little bit. So then our output belt can go up here, which just lines up, and there we go. Now we can go up here and build a sink for this. So that goes in like that. And then let's give it a bit more space. So we have our awesome sink, which is going to go right there. And then we have our smart splitter. So that gets built across. And then this gets a power line right down to there. Alright, so now this should be good to go, assuming we have the water working correctly, which it looks like the water is getting there eventually, just like these last couple. We do have marginally more water than we need because we have, what, 840 instead of 800, so there shouldn't be any problems with that. Although it seems like there might be, but it's probably just waiting for the fluids to build up. Alright, we've also left a dismantle crate somehow. What do we have? We don't need the sulfur, we don't need the coal, we don't need all of that stuff. We don't need those motors, we don't need one of those. Okay, we can trim down on those. Wait, I didn't want to get rid of them entirely. I just wanted to go down to one stack instead of one stack plus one item. Alright. A lot of these things, like getting rid of them, doesn't help much because they're just going to show back up again as soon as we dismantle something. But at least it's something. And I can also click take from inventory before depot. I should have had that active this entire time. Alright, so this water should be enough. That's going at 500 some, but then it drops down to like 200. This one is going at, seems like a stable 600. Actually, both of these are currently 600, which they're not going to be stable at because we only have 840, not 1200. So we'll see how long that takes to catch up. Alright, well, it's probably just it's probably going. It'll hopefully get set up properly in pretty short order. Now we have our fixite ingots to make. So we need to figure out if we're doing this in... Oh, we have to make a bunch of converters for this, huh? Converters are pretty big. Converters are pretty big. So we'll actually just... Where's the 5x5 blueprint, just for ease of placing these down. Alright, so we need 100, and we can get 15 per machine. What did I just place that somewhere weird, or did it just fail to place? I think it just failed to place. So let's see here. 100 divided by 15 is 6.6 repeating, which is not the world's most convenient ratio, but I guess we can do 100 divided by 8 and have that be relatively acceptable. Alright, so let's see here. Converters don't require anything crazy, right? I mean, they require a lot of SAM fluctuators. And we're going to need a lot of converters. So I think our SAM fluctuator thing is very, very old. Wait, before the converters, we need to process the reanimated SAM as well. So let's make sure to do that. And that is just going to be a bunch of these guys, just regular old constructors, but which go very, very fast. So let's have this go foundation over this way. And a little bit further. Okay, now we're in approximately the right area. I am going to place a floor hole just like there-ish. And then this connects into that. And so this is temporarily not going to be enough. So we need some fixite trigons in order to make the tier 6 belts, which we're going to need to finish this all off. So that's a little bit annoying, but we're just going to pretend that we have them for now. Alright, so we need, what, 10 constructors of these? So we have 120 each. We have 1,200 that we're going to be using. And then they output to 30 a minute, which will be 300, which is the correct number. So yeah, we need 10 constructors. And we can just use a speed balancer for this, because it's 120 each. It's very convenient. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, so then we just get our smart splitters that go along, and then we just have to use Mark II belts to feed each of these constructors, and it will be all good. So there we go. Now we have these Mark II belts. So that all just goes across like this. And then we have our max speed belt, which is currently not max speed enough for this, but which will be eventually. And then this belt just goes back to here. And all the way back this way. And into that. So that should be a pretty quick supply of reanimated SAM. Now we need to get this going. So you're a Mark III power line. You all need to connect up. And we're going to need another one because there are 10 of them, and that's too many for a single power line to connect to. So that is all connected up. Then we just drop down there and connect them into power. And now, last step, we give them the recipe. So that recipe goes across. And then we just have to set the smart splitters. So this is center overflow, left any. And we paste that all the way down the line, and most of these ones here at the end aren't going to end up getting any, but that's okay. Now we are going to merge these back up into a belt of 300. And then that can go into a sink. So that gets its sink like that. And then this has to be Mark IV. And the individual ones can be Mark III. So that just all goes along like so. No, not like that. Then we have Mark I belts to get the 30 a minute out onto the main one. And then we're going to have our reanimated SAM. Alright, so that is going. So we have reanimated SAM, we have Caterium. Now we get our converters in. And there are 2 Mercer spheres literally just within line of sight of me right now. It's crazy. Alright, so converters. We need a lot of them. Because it's... What are we going to do? 8 of these? So let's start placing... Actually, do we want to... Yeah, let's make this a blueprint just simply for the sake of it being 2 levels, because that makes it a lot easier to just do everything. So that all goes in. We get our foundation, and hopefully... I don't think the converter was, like, insanely tall. It was not. Good. Alright, so that just pops in like that. And we actually... Will we be able to fit 2 of these in? Converter all the way over to the edge. And then another one in like that. Alright, that's good. That'll save a lot of space. So then 2 of these inputs go down to the first floor. These are set to fixite ingots from Caterium, and they are set to 300 divided by 8. Wait. How much were we doing? I feel like a fixite... Oh, it's 100 divided by 8, right. 100 divided by 8, which is 12.5 as expected. Then we get these going forwards like that. And we are a single belt of everything in here. So we can just use mark 1s. And then you combine up to there. And we get these guys connected. And doing this once for a blueprint is going to be much, much faster than doing it, what, 4 times or whatever? Alright, so that is all connected up. Then we just get them powered. And we get the outputs. So that output just goes like that. And then it connects up like that. And then these connect to the main belt. And we are all good. So we can call this just a 2x converter. And save that blueprint, clear the designer, and delete the designer. Alright, now if we head over that way, we should have plenty of space, I think. So you can go in somewhere like this, and then auto-connect across. That's 2, and that's another 2. And now we need more radio control units, because this is an insanely expensive building to place. So we're going to have to wait for those. Radio control units are building up. So we've got 4. And now we just get in another one of those. And then we just have to wait for the SAM fluctuators to recover before placing the last one. And while we wait for that, we can get our foundation blueprint in. And you just need to go in something like that. And then just auto snap to that blueprint and not the floor-based blueprint. Alright, actually this is enough of a floor for what we're doing here. I don't need to get all the way across. Alright, so we just need one more. Blueprint, auto-connect mode. Pop it in. And that is that. So now we just need to get these guys powered up and, well, no, we don't need to get them powered up. They're already powered up. We need to get them connected to the input belts. So this is going to be 100 Caterium or 75 reanimated SAM. So these belts need to be Mark II, and of course I put the power pole there. You can just barely get around it. So then this goes there, and over to there. And then we connect them up. So this is going to be, so if that was 100 or 75, this is going to be 200 or 150, so it'll be Mark IIIs, like so. And then the floor hole goes in there, and this is going to be a Mark IV, I believe. And then we just have to do the same thing down here, but there's not going to be any annoying power poles in the way, so it'll be much easier. So these are Mark II belts, there and there. Mark II belts to here and here. There, and over to there. And then we get that in, which gets to be Mark IIIs, and done. Alright. So now we have to take this belt, carry it around this way, and then pop it into there. And then we have to take this belt, bring it around to here, and actually we can just send it up over on this side. We don't need to worry about getting in the way of anything. And this will just make it so that the belts don't interact as much, which will be quite helpful. Alright, so that goes up there. And then this just sort of loops around and get rid of that. And then we just go into there. That's not exactly the most elegant belt I've ever constructed, but it should be functional. So now we say center overflow left any, and that's Caterium going through. Then we just fly over to here, say center overflow left any, and that's reanimated sand. So this obviously doesn't have a fast enough belt to do everything yet, so we're not going to be at 100%, which is going to be mildly annoying. The Caterium should be, and it looks correct. So that is all good. So now we have our fixite ingots. Now if I check fixite ingots, these are literally only ever used for trigons. So we just have to get those going. And that is going to go down this way. And we have... Is that in smelters? No, it is in constructors. And it is 10 a minute in to 30 a minute out. Alright, so we are just going to set up a row of constructors in here and then do the old 1 to 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Technically we could do like a very, very scuffed setup for speed balancing, but it would be very silly and kind of pointless almost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and we need one more. 10. Alright, so we have those 10. Now we are going to do the 1 to 2s. So every other machine gets a splitter. Like that, and then they all get Mark 1 belts. So that all goes in. And just that. Alright, now we have to do our whole loop around thing. So you get 1, and then every other gets 1. And then we set these guys up So you go like that, you go like that, and then you go forward into nothing. Then we have our splitter, which I don't know if we have to be using Mark IIs at this point, but I'm going to. Then does a 1 to 3. And then this, we go like that. And then curve back around. Did you go up a tick? Why would you do that? It's so hard to prevent you from doing that when you're staring at things from above. Alright, so then that loops back around to there. Make you a priority merger with priority left. And then we just connect up that. And I believe that is all set up. So now we just have to give the recipes, power them up, and then connect up the outputs. Which we should have a good amount of time to do, because the slow belts are slow. So this starts getting these ones. Then we get another one and finish them off. Alright, so now these are all powered up. We just need to get the merger into the sink. And the dimensional storage as well. Speaking of sinks, I never built one for the fixite ingots portion, but it's simple enough that it shouldn't really matter. Like, you don't need to have a sink after every single thing. Just, it makes testing easier, and in this case, the amount of testing is so minimal that, like, it doesn't really matter. Alright. Why did that happen? Misclicking and placing something off into the distance is very funny. Alright, so now we need to get these guys all connected up. So that's the next step. And these belts just go forwards. They're 30 each. And then we have 300 total. So we can use Mark IVs on this. So that goes all the way forwards. And then we just have to set up the outputs. So we have an industrial storage container with a smart splitter in between, and that is just going to go forwards to that. Dimensional depot on top with a Mark III lift, and now we have this going. We get a sink back there, which we can now power on. And that is Fixite Trigons done. And hopefully, I don't know, depending on what we need these for, I check this, because there are biochemical sculptors, and we're going to need 400 a minute for that. So we're going to need to put more work in when that happens. But this should be all that we'll ever need for the immediate future, at least. And now the next step is just off to any oil patch that can give us a full pipe. Like, that one is all impure, but it should do to make the diamonds. And then once we have diamonds, we can come back here and upgrade the belts on the reanimated Sam. Alright, I need to coast to the ground here. And apparently apparently we have a lot of space to cover before we get to this power pole. Alright, so now we're here. This oil patch is right by some things that I've already claimed. So there's going to be power there. So I don't need to bring any. Just need to get over there as quickly as possible. There's some bauxite. It's good to know that we've still got some of that left over. Alright, so we can descend a bit to this level and just keep on going. Might as well grab a Mercer Sphere as we pass by. So we can pick that up. And done. And keep heading east. Alright. Is that the place we're going to? Is that factory right on top of it? Or... No, I suspect we're going to have to go this way. I think it's up here somewhere. Alright, let's stop here, consult the map. Alright, sure. So it should be, like, directly east of me, clearly visible. Yeah, here it is. Alright, so we drop down here. We get a resource well pressurizer. And then we have to connect that up to power, which we have a power pole right there. So let's bring that in closer and get you set up. Alright. Even at max power, this is only 450 meters cubed per minute. That's just kind of sad, you know? Like, that's not enough crude oil to do much of anything. Alright, I guess maybe let's place a man down, because I have the oil-based diamonds as the thing that I was going to do, but maybe petroleum is... Maybe it's more efficient? Who knows? Let's take it and see. Diamonds. So these are the two like practical options. So first off, we need 120 diamonds. So oil-based diamonds is 600 crude oil for 120. Petroleum diamonds would be 720 times 4 petroleum. 720 times 4 petroleum is 2,880. 2,880 would be... Let's see, divide that by 3 for the amount of heavy oil residue. 2880 divided by 3 would be 960 heavy oil residue. And that would be 3 to 4. So that would be times 960 times 3 over 4 would be 720 crude oil. So that's just less efficient. Good to know. So we can't save any oil by doing that. And then the other options are just sort of jokes, I think. Like, they're just a lot more work. They require a huge amount of coal or whatever. We do have a huge amount of coal, actually, right here. Normal, impure, 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 impure. Okay, that's not great at all. So, if we wanted to do the just base coal recipe, that would be... Yeah, that would be thousands of coal. We're not doing that. Let's give up on that resource well pressurizer then. We just need to find a oil patch down here by the power plant, for example, which can just get us all that we need. So let's head southwest. It's kind of crazy that that whole big fancy like resource well thing is less productive than just like an ordinary patch. Like a pure node just does better than that entire thing, which is crazy. so we can just head southwest. And alright, let's try to stay by the ground so that if we run out of fuel, we don't die. Just cruise through that cloud of gas. And we just keep going. Should be somewhere in this general vicinity. Let's grab a power slug. Grab a power slug and just a little bit more. So up we go. And then we just keep on going over here. There should be an oil deposit, probably in a cave beneath us. So let's see if we can find that. Yeah, here we are. So this is plenty of unused oil. Let's make sure to break our fall before we crash and burn. Alright, oil extractor. In. And max overclock you to 600. Alright, so that is that. Then, the thing we're doing here is just 3 particle accelerators. So those machines are quite large, but we should still, even then, be able to fit them in here. So let's build just like a quick pillar or something. Actually, I didn't make that snap to the world grid, I don't think. So let's pop that in. I don't know why sometimes it does weird things when you hold shift. So that can go up there. And then we need to swap back to Zoop build mode. And get some foundations in here. Hopefully those stone cactus thingies are destructible, otherwise they're going to be a major issue. They are. And get rid of one more. Alright. So that is that. Now, do we have power over here? We probably don't at the moment. So let's find some. So we can bring this over to here. And then just sort of connect into you. There we go. So now we should have power. And we can get our particle accelerators in. And swap back to the hover pack, which is so much more convenient. Alright, so then this is just going to go out there. And particle accelerators. We need 3 of them. 1, 2, and 1 more. Oh, what have I done? I hit the wrong button. I hit the Windows button instead of Alt. So now we just have to get that built out and a 3rd particle accelerator. So now these guys can get set to oil-based diamonds. And that will be 120. So then we just need to split the crude oil into those 3. And then bring it over to here. So this pipe goes over and into there. And so that should be our 120 oil-based diamonds, nice and easy. Assuming that I don't know, some weird thing doesn't happen with head lift that causes that to not be enough, but it should be. Should be fine. So now we just need to take all these guys out, Mark 1 belts in all of those places, and Mark 2 belts along that way. Oh, we need to power these on. So that gets upgraded. And now we are making some diamonds. So that is 40 a minute each for 120 a minute total. And we will set up. I guess we'll set up a sink for them. I don't know if we're ever going to need it. But it also is technically possible that we'll need diamonds for something else at some point. I don't know. So that is going. And then we... What do these get made in? Time crystals are made in a converter. So I'm going to need a whole bunch of converters, which are hilariously expensive. So we need radio control units. We need... what is it? SAM fluctuators. And probably some other stuff too. Let's see here. The other things are less problematic because we just need a lot fewer of them. So that should be fine. And we need to set up an area for our 10 converters, which we need to go further up, I think. If we just go up to like there, and is that aligned properly? No, so that is aligned properly. And then we can just sort of blueprint snap these across and get a whole lot of space up here. And there's plenty. By the way, power grid still going fine. Yep, everything looks fine over there. Alright, now we just need 5 of these 2x converter blueprints, which are actually just going to snap perfectly onto the floor blueprints that we built. And we don't really even need them to because there's only one input. But that's fine. So now we are once again short on all the things that we're always short on when building converters. Okay, so wait, why are you facing backwards? So you're going to have to get dismantled and built in the correct way this time. Thank you. And then you get powered up. Alright, now we power up the whole batch of machines, which they can connect to that random power line that's over there. How is this doing for power? Max consumption is getting up there. Actual consumption still nowhere near an issue. So let's see. Radio control units. I'm going to grab those. SAM fluctuators. I'm going to grab those. And we should be just about ready to finish this off. It's going to be close. So we can get that one in, and we need another 70 SAM fluctuators, which should be less than a minute, just more like 20 seconds-ish, I think. We have 240 a minute upload speed. So let's just wait for that, and done. Alright, so that is all of those machines built. Now we connect them up. Alright, so those are all connected. Now we just need to get the diamonds in, which we're going to connect up in this floor. And first let's set the recipe. So time crystal at 100%. And then we're just going to paste this across. And then it's everything past that one. So we just keep on pasting. And there we go. So those are all in. And now we just need to get the splitters. So we go down here and we get our 1 to 5, which is just a 1 to 6 with a little extra bit. So you go in like that. Then this one also gets placed in. There and there. And then this one gets the little unique guy. So you connect across to there, and then you're going to loop back. So then we have this foundation here where we have our 1 to 3, and then we have our merger. So each of these are going to be 40, right? Because it's 120 divided by 3. So that is perfectly good enough. Like that. Then this is going to need to be like a Mark III belt. And we get you coming around this way and looping back. And then we just have to get this up to there. So we pop in a floor hole and give you a Mark II belt because that's how fast it is. Then this comes down and you go across like that. Center, overflow, left, any. And that should be that. Alright, now we just have to head back over here where we're going to have 60 time crystals a minute. And we just go all the way down to the end and set up our entire thing. So this goes out to there. We get an industrial storage crate. No, not dismantle mode blueprint. Just get rid of that belt. Then we get you. And you go across. And a dimensional depot. Up you go. And now we just have a sink. And then we check to see if this is activating properly. Alright, so sink goes there. And I think this could be Mark I belts here, but we're using Mark IIs for no particular reason. Alright. So it should be going, and yeah, so some of those ones over there have started up. These ones over here have a further journey to make. And it's apparently 10 seconds for a cycle. Alright, so that didn't get it fast enough. Although it was pretty close. Probably fine. Alright, it's happened again. Is this not getting all the way up? It looks like 120 a minute are going up this belt. Which should be good. But these guys are not getting that many. There's 10 of those. They need 12 each, so that's 120. Oh, it's probably just because the loop back isn't fully functional yet. Because that has to go all the way out there and then all the way back and then all the way back to the machines before all the distribution gets done properly. So that's probably fine. There's probably just going to be a bit of a delay before that gets set up properly. But it should be at this point. I mean, the thing is, it has to sort of make 2 full loops, right? Because it has to go down here with not enough, and then come back with more, and then go down again with more. So it might have to sort of loop up to the full speed over time, but it looks like, I mean, that cycle just happened correctly. So if you see that happen again, yeah, so now the close ones at least are up to full speed, and then we just have to wait. It'll take a little bit for that to trickle down to these guys over here, probably. But in the meantime, we have time crystals coming out at 60. Okay, I like having things be completely full belts, so let's set that there and just have most of this row be set like that. Just because it's very both satisfying and useful to be able to see a 100% saturated belt and know that that's exactly what's supposed to be happening, and there's no funny business at all. So we have that. We have our time crystals. And they are still filling the depot. Obviously it's not going to be terribly quick at the moment. But we now have 120 of those in, and should be going strong. Okay, I see a bunch of warning lights. Yeah, okay, so we have a train failure. That's not good. Let's hurry up there and see what we can do to solve that. The thing is, we normally have like one train which does that, just as part of how it normally operates. But we can't be doing this with a bunch of trains. Alright, so this train here is stopped. And it could enter the intersection, but it isn't. And presumably the reason it isn't is because you're trying to get over to here, and the way this intersection works is kind of a mess because it's all path signals. So what if I were to just straight up make you a block signal? Alright, you are unhappy because this would also need to be a block signal, and this would also need to be a block signal. Alright, well, setting it up like that has gotten some trains to move, but it still hasn't fixed this guy. So where is your other type of entry signal that I'm not seeing here? I mean, the entry signals to that block are that one and that one. There are no other signals that enter this block. I guess that would be a problem for these guys over here. So if I make you a block signal, then it looks like that's fixed everybody. I don't see any warning signs. But this is still very much jammed, and that's not ideal. So, how do we solve this jam? What even caused it? So I need to figure that out, and if I take too long, the power grid might crash. I'm not entirely sure. Hopefully the power grid is exempt from this, because it's sort of off in a corner and it doesn't go through the center intersection. But it very well might not be. Alright, so we're just looking for a train that's somehow causing problems, which would be like sitting in an intersection or something, which I currently don't see. Let's see, I don't know what you're sitting there for, I guess. Okay, that train is technically sitting in an intersection, so it might be you. You might be... I mean, it seems unlikely, but you are in this intersection block. And, I mean, how do we even deal with you? Where are you going? You're going to oil, which is just that one up ahead, I believe. So, no, this one up ahead is something else. So where are you going? And yeah, so the problem is that these blocks are too small to fit the max length trains, and so they sort of stick out into the intersection and take up the intersection as well as the block they're meant to be in. Alright, so let's have this train. What if we just sort of drove you out of this? I don't know if that's what you were even intending to do, but... Okay. So you are now just sort of off over here somewhere. And you can then just go to self-driving and hopefully figure out how to get to wherever it is you're going. Oh, you're turning around. That's not good. That is not what we want to see. Well, you're just going to be sitting there waiting for this copper to run out. Now, the good news is it looks like the copper is relatively close to running out, so maybe that's just okay. Alright, is there anything I can do to speed that up? Let's see, if I take like all the rest of the copper out of these ones, then that will speed it up a little bit. So now this is going to be the only source of copper for this entire production line, which should hopefully get it draining fast enough that our bauxite train can get out of the way. In the meantime, it looks like everyone else has mostly started moving. I'm not sure if that over there is just another unrelated jam or if it just hasn't trickled down that far yet. Okay, it's definitely not perfect. There's still a lot of trains waiting. And then there's this one, which... I don't know, let's just speed this up even more. So if I just get a storage crate here, and a splitter on you, congratulations, you get to make this go absolutely as fast as possible, including upgrading it to a Mark V belt. So hopefully that will get everything out of this box, and then that train will leave, and this train can get through. Okay. So there's still a jam over there. I probably caused that by messing with the signals in the intersection. And then over here, it looks like things are calming down, although... Okay, the rocket fuel sulfur is moving. So that is that stress gotten rid of. And you are unloading. So we can take that out, take that out. Get rid of all that copper in my inventory, which I left a dismantle crate here, which we can also get rid of. Okay, so that is solved. And then we're just going to have to deal with whatever's going on in the main intersection. And this guy will be able to do his turnaround safely, and he shouldn't need to ever do that again. So let's head on over here and then see what that problem is. Okay, so we can just hop in this train for a little bit. That's cooling systems aluminum. Alright, now we are at the point of this traffic jam, which I have to imagine I caused by trying to mess with the intersection. I should never mess with the intersection. It's way too fragile for that. Okay, it actually isn't, apparently. At least not directly. So this stuff is going on just outside of the intersection. So, let's see here. Okay, so you can't move on because this is all one block, which means you can't enter it. What if I just make that a thing? There. Alright, well, we've messed with the intersection even more. So that's cool. But hopefully it's fine. I also could have put a block signal like right there, I guess. And that probably also would have done it. No, why not? What's your problem? Oh, you just don't like being that close to an intersection, I guess. Alright, so now you're going around. And hopefully the intersection will work now. I don't know if it will now that I've swapped over to block signals instead of path signals. But we can always be optimistic. For at least the time being, it seems to be functional. We've got plenty of trains going through. And there we go. It's going to take these guys a little while because you're waiting for all of those trains to get past before you can go to wherever it is you're trying to get to. But there you go. You're going forwards, which means now you can go forwards. Okay, so this train is actively just sitting on the intersection, which hopefully isn't a catastrophe, because, I mean, now that we have block signals, it's better. So you can loop around to there. Alright, I think we're all clear. Let's see, I don't see any more warning lights, so we're probably fine. And also the power grid didn't crash, and that rocket-fueled sulfur train should have gotten there by now. It hasn't, or if it did, it got there and then immediately turned around. Unclear which. Okay, it got there and immediately turned around. So that indicates that it was a little bit closer than I would have liked it to be, but the power grid didn't fail. Although it might actually have done something. That's a little bit wobbly. But it's only a little bit wobbly. Hopefully we last. And now we can finally get down to here and unlock this. So we need a ridiculous amount of iron plates, actually. That's a lot of iron plates. So we also need our fixed site trigons. And we need our time crystals. And we need our all-clad sheets. So let's jam all those guys in, and then this is going to take a while to get all those plates and sheets. Alright. Is this a new jam here? Of course, it probably is. So what is going on? What has caused you problems? So this stuff is all just sitting here. You are sitting here. Okay, so this is all path signals on this side. And I think if we want it to be blocks signals, we need to just commit to it. And have you get to be a block signal. Let's see here. So where else? And then you have to be a block signal as well, I think. Alright, so then what is your problem? Oh, you're a path signal, obviously. There, so you're a path signal, and now this whole thing is going with block signals. But now we have this problem. So I think the other thing is maybe these guys will help fix that. So if you and you get signals, so you should be able to get down there even while the rest of this stuff is all waiting. And that should then open up space for you to get over here. Okay, this is all one giant section, which... Okay, here's the thing. The signal for this is here. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze real quick. We need that signal to be there, and that block signal does not exist, I think. Alright, so why are you sitting there? Well, now you're sitting there because this guy is going through. And then you are going to need some signals on the weird little loop around thing. And, alright, I think we have successfully managed to just completely deadlock the entire area. Because all of these guys are trying to go more than one step around the loop. Alright, what if I just give up on the loop entirely and just go back to a good old-fashioned intersection? So that would cause complications over here, but I'm sure we can figure that out. And I know how an intersection works, and it's not going to cause problems like this loop has consistently done. Alright, so let's just do that. We're going to make the loop not exist anymore, which we are going to have to do some train piloting to get that working. So we need to clear all of those guys out. And hopefully if I drive this guy and just get him off of the loop by any means necessary, off you go. Hopefully that will get the rest of the loop going, and then you can turn on self-driving, and that should be fine. Managed to barely get in before a massive delay would ensue. Although, actually, massive delay is going to ensue anyways. So, not that it would ever matter under ordinary circumstances, but that block needs to be back there. So that in this exact specific Bizarro World scenario, bad things don't happen here. Alright. So, we need to get all of these trains off of the loop, basically. And that is going to be a bit hard. So you go off self-driving. And you can head down this way, and then just sort of off into wherever you feel like going. And back onto self-driving. This is a lot worse than it is in Factorio, because the trains are not nearly smart enough to figure out not to jam themselves into other trains' spots. Alright, so this is going. I didn't get this bit off, so we're going to have to get rid of that. And then hopefully this will all work out. Trains keep going back onto the loop. You need to not exist. Signaling problem, yes, I am aware. We are fixing things. Turn off self-driving. And go back a little bit. And then just sort of sit wherever you want to sit while I fix this. Alright, so we can take that out. And now, I believe it's only possible to leave the loop, and they can only do that at this exact spot. So you need to go a bit further forwards in order to not block things. So you can go a little bit forwards and then just sit there. Need to make sure you have self-driving turned on, otherwise you're going to cause all sorts of problems later. So now all the trains should be leaving the loop through this. one at a time. And hopefully they can find enough space to get over to wherever they're going. Alright, just like 2 more trains left, and then we'll have this all dealt with. And also, like, I think the trains are finding the alternate route of going all the way around the entire map, which is kind of funny. Okay, so this is probably backlogged all the way. Alright, let's try to just do what we can to get this set up. So that goes out to there. You are a path signal now because you're going into an intersection. And you connect back there. And there we go. So now we get this one attached up. And you get to be a path signal to go into there. And I assume that all the rest of this, the loop nonsense, is going to be causing absolute confusion. So let's try just taking out this bit, which is where it intersects. And then we go over here and we take out this bit so that there's no intersection between the old loop and what we're doing now. Okay, so you could get through, but I introduced a signaling problem. So we are just gonna drive you off of the loop. Oh dear. Okay. That's, interesting. Okay, is that... That wasn't straight up a power grid crash, was it? That was... It tried to take a turn on this that didn't exist? Yes, I still see stuff going. So we didn't have a power grid crash. It's just this one... This one train is getting derailed whenever I try to drive it forwards. So if we just back you up a little bit, and if we just take that railway out, take that railway out, and then we just connect you along like that. We should be able to just sort of get you over to here. Alright, I don't know what was happening with that, but you can just go and do whatever it is you want to do now. And we can disconnect that from the loop. Alright. So now we have like 2 sides connected up. That block signal needs to not exist. That block signal needs to not exist. Alright, I'm not entirely sure why this... Oh wait, no it isn't. So that is... So those signals are now showing as normal. So we can take all this junk out. Off you go. And then we connect these guys up and make you a path signal again. Alright, so that is 3 directions done. 1 direction left. Well, technically 1.5, because we have to do that other annoying thing with all of the resources. So then you go across like that, and you get to be a pass signal. Alright, so now we have the intersection entirely functional except for this bit over here. So let's get these random rails out, because they are simply not going to be helpful. Alright, so we need this to be an input, that to be an output. And we'd prefer to be able to input from an output side of the intersection and from two separate ones. So if we have, I don't know if I communicated that well, but like this is a rail that goes out of the intersection, and we want it to go over here and into there. And the reason, I don't know why that's being counted as a separate block. So the reason we want that is because then it can get there from anywhere in the entire thing. So we have that, and that's a train already taking it. And then we have this, which can also loop around that way and then merge into that spot. So now, if you're coming from here, or you can go around that way, if you're coming from this way, you can go in that way, and then the other two ways you can pick whichever you want. So now we have trains able to access that. And now we just need to have the trains able to leave that, which we want to do approximately the same way. So we want you to be able to come over here and go into the intersection there, so that you can leave here and go to any of those three sides. And I believe you're going to need to be a pass signal for that to work. And then if you want to go that way, then this is going to need to go in over here. And you just line up like that. And we should be in the clear, I think. We could make this a lot neater, but it should be functional, and it should also, I think, be significantly faster than the loop system and less prone to breaks and stuff, because trains just go directly through. And I think I just like dramatically overcomplicated things when I set up the loop, and now I have unovercomplicated things, and so we should be functional again. And then I just have to figure out whatever is going on with the rest of these trains that are still messed up. Alright, so we just head over this way, and eventually we will find the trains. Okay, let's grab more iron plates and all-clad sheets into my inventory while we're at it, because we need literally 10,000 of the iron plates and 5,000 all-clad sheets, which is a lot. So we're gonna just have to keep on picking those up every time we get the chance. And then eventually we will be able to unlock peak efficiency. I could, like, find the actual box for those things and just grab them manually. Alright, why are you sitting here? What train are you? You are Filters Caterium. So you want to be going over this way. Into this green block. Okay, I think you're just bugged. Like, there's very clearly plenty of free blocks for you to do that. So if I just toggle you like that. No, you still are not interested in moving forwards. Alright, in that case, I will get you moving manually. And I will demonstrate to you that the path there is completely safe. Oh, it isn't, actually. I guess there is this guy in here. Stop. Stop. Alright, we're fine. This is fine. They weren't meant to connect like that. Alright. So, this is fine. We just need... Yeah, so this is one of the trains which wound up getting turned around. So you... cancel docking, move on. And that should get you out of the way. And we shouldn't have these guys turning around regularly. Like, this is basically just a one-off thing when I mess with the train system, that they get confused like this. So that train moves on. Then this train will slip through here and then turn to whichever direction it needed to get to. And then you can just go in and be all good. And then those two up there are probably another case of the same sort of messed up turnaround happening. Alright, Filters Caterium. Why now? Oh, I didn't set you back to self-driving, that's why. So there you go, back to self-driving, and we are all good on this side. So now we need to head up north and solve those guys that are broken. Alright, almost there. Iron plates and all-clad sheets. Grab me some more of those. I should probably just stop by the boxes to fill them up. It's going to take so incredibly long otherwise. Alright, so we go up this way, and we have some trains that are having problems. So up we go. And what are you guys doing? Okay, it's another one of these situations, I assume, where some random guy has gotten stuck in here. And let's see. So you are the aluminum train, which is meant to be here. And okay, so this train, it just went when it shouldn't have. I think that's just ultimately the problem here. So this train should be waiting back here, but instead it went all the way up. I don't know why it did that. But it's fine. We can have you move on. And then you will clear out space for this guy. Oh, actually, is that because this... Yeah, okay, so that and that need to be path signals. I think. And that should work. There we go. So that actually had nothing to do with this problem. That was just an unrelated train problem that I didn't notice. But it is now solved. Alright. So that is solved. Any other warning signs? We have a whole lot of trains waiting along that row, which currently they aren't giving warning signs, but if they don't get moving, then that's going to be an issue. So let's get on over there and see what, if anything, is actively causing that. Alright. No, there is nothing in particular causing that. It's just a lot of trains heading in the same direction. Alright, can I get this? Yeah, so I can speed this up a fair bit. So currently these signals are all the way back there, which is important for some of these sides, but not for others. So that can be a path signal, that can be a block signal, and this path signal can go away. So now these trains will be able to queue right up here. And I don't think you should have done that, but I guess you didn't end up breaking anything, so it's fine. Alright, then we can still get these guys a good bit closer up. They can't go all the way up to there because we have that stuff going on, but if we get you... Hello, please snap to the correct side. Please just snap to the correct side. Why are you like this? Okay, there's probably like a 5-pixel window where I can get it correct, but it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it wants to cooperate, which is incredibly annoying. Alright, at very least, surely I can get a block signal in here. No, I can't. Alright, that's... I don't know why it is so difficult to place signals on the wrong side, that it doesn't want you to place them on. Alright, so we can get path signal up here, and then take that path signal out, then get a block signal right there, get that block signal out, and we can actually make a block signal like there-ish, and that will be fine. Alright, are those trains over there still having trouble? No, they look pretty normal now. I mean, very, very much running, but they look like they are all mostly running. Okay, I'm going to get a block signal in here. And then might as well have one in there as well. Wait, no, there's already a signal right there on the other side. So that is that. Alright, so that is a mild improvement to how long they have to wait in this area. And it would be better if I could get these sides improved, but let me guess, still not cooperating? Nope, still not cooperating. There's just nothing you can do. Now, what you can do, though, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that out, have you go up to, like, there, and then forward a little bit more. So it does work perfectly normally on intersections. So we can pop that in, and then do the same thing over here. So you go out to like there, and then the rest of the way forwards, and get a block signal. Alright, and then there's just this one left, which is gonna have basically the same issue, which is probably okay. I think we've probably done enough at this point to get that functional that it should be fine. The trains seem to be operating normally. Alright, so now we need to just grab iron plates and grab all clad sheets and then get this whole thing going. So I can throw what I have in my inventory right now into the hub. And there we go. Nowhere near enough for either of them. So how much are we going to need? So the iron plates, these both come in batches of 200, right? So 10,000 divided by 200 is 50. So we need 50 stacks of each. 6, 7, 8, 9, 18. All right, so we just don't have anywhere near the inventory space to do that. But I guess we can do what we can to make it better, so we can clear some of this junk out of my inventory, just as much as possible. Just leave nothing. We don't need those anymore. We don't need heat sinks or motors or rotors. Just clear out absolutely everything non-essential from the inventory. And let's see here, there. We don't need all these different types of nobelisks. We don't need 4 of those. Alright, so this is all we can hold. So let's now swap to jetpack. Move the hypertube over. Like that. And the iron plates are going to be over this way by the space elevator. So let's get over there. And we are just going to lose a bit of height and start dropping down. So I believe this line here is the iron plates, and I think this was the first 10x capacity thing that we made. And it seems to still be working. Let's just yoink all of that. And then we're going to respawn and see how much of that we need to dump in to this. Alright. We did get all 10,000 iron plates. Nice. So next, we need to head over to the east to find our all-clad sheets. So let's head over this way. And it should be somewhat connected to this. I believe it's like on this side of this factory. Alright, so we have casings here, and we have sheets here. Cool. Alright, so let's hop all the way over to here, and we don't need all of this. We just need, let's see, that's 1,000, that's 2,000, that's 3,000, That's 3,200. That should be like exactly the correct amount. And then we just have to go to here, dump all that stuff in, and yeah, 45 extra. So we can launch that and have peak efficiency.
After close scrutiny, 2 problems were identified in Mark V conveyor belts. The first was the belt part, so force fields have been implemented in the Mark VI instead to maximize transfer speeds.
Do love magical force
fields. The second problem is inefficient pioneers, but sadly no remedy is available for this severe impediment. Yet.
Mark VI is just those 2 things, 1 each. And we have both of them, so we should be able to just start spamming Mark VI belts whenever we need fast stuff, which should be very convenient. There's probably a lot of places where we can use that to like increase the amount of iron ore we're outputting from miners, for example. Alright, where was this factory that we had? It was like over this way, right? Gosh, I forget exactly where it was. Let's land here. It was... Oh, we overshot big time. It's all the way back there. Okay, I was heading for the oil factory because I misremembered which one it was. So we need to get over this way and then get that stuff built. And we also have, I believe we should be able to do that MAM research for artificial power shards, although I think the actual power shards themselves need some sort of dark matter shenanigans to work. Let's dismantle that crash debris. So the actual power shards themselves need some sort of dark matter shenanigans to work, but we can at least unlock the technology for it. Okay, I think it's that up there. Those power poles are definitely... I definitely remember them. So up we go. And we're here. So now we have to just go over to here and swap back to Hoverpack and start with Mark VI. So those go up there and then around to there. And now we filter them along this way. And then along the first couple steps of this. Let's have it go through all of them just for fun. And this looks like a full Mark VI belt. And there they go. So even all the way down here, we should be now approaching 100%, which is indeed the case. And so that will get all the rest of this stuff going as well. And then we will have that. Alright, so that is pretty neat. Now if we look over here, how much all these guys are currently... Okay, so this connection just didn't get made properly. So that's a thing. And then... this never got set to right overflow, so we need to do that. Alright, so that took a bit of fixing, but we are now fully functional, making fixite trigons. And this is probably up to full speed by now. Yes, it is. Alright, and then that is that. Alright, so now if we just respawn real quick again, we can go over to here and go... Actually, let's just check. We can get a depot expansion. Let's do that. So let's grab all of our SAM fluctuators. Go alien technology, depot expansion, and we'll still have 8 Mercer spheres left over, but our dimensional storage will be just that little bit better.
Dimensional expansion increased to 400%.
And if I went,
can now be stored as elementary particles.
If I went really searching for Mercer spheres, I could upgrade it all the rest of the way.
Normally, I'd explain the basic
really feel the need
science,
to.
but I don't think this one can be simplified enough for you to understand.
We composed a growth song, but you composed
Then
a short song, so we remain silent.
we just need to do power slugs.
I understand. Seeing the Pioneer perform tasks also amuses
Time
me.
crystals and quartz crystals. And we can research synthetic power shards. There we go. Is there any other relevant
Research
stuff
completed.
in here?
Synthetic power
Not
shard
especially.
recipe unlocked.
I
Exchanging
guess
regular
ionized fuel,
exercise
but
and
that's
filtered fresh
down
air
the
with
road.
automation is just the kind of progress Fixit likes to see.
Alright, so power shard. Synthetic power shards, we need dark matter crystals and excited photonic matter and some quartz and some time crystals, and then that makes us power shards. So in order to get those other things, we need quantum encoding, which I believe is the only thing we can currently do, because both of those require stuff from this. So I mean, we are basically... I always forget, Phase 5 is kind of short. Like, we have quantum encoding, we get superposition oscillators, neural quantum processors, and power shards. Then it's just from there, just straight to project parts, and then ending the game. And then we're going to do a lot of post-game stuff this time around, because I haven't really done so much in my previous saves. So I want to set up a Fixonium fuel power plant. I want to do anything with the portals, because I don't think I've ever done a single thing with any of them. And then I guess that will be just about it. So we are sort of approaching-ish the home stretch. I mean, Phase 5 is much shorter than Phase 4. So that is exciting. And I believe we have enough tickets to do the Golden Nut Trophy as well. So that is cool. And I think we're going to wrap up the stream there. So thanks everyone for hanging out. Had a lot of fun. I guess I might as well wait the extra minute for the quantum encoding research to finish, and we need turbo motors and supercomputers. So we get turbo motors, we get supercomputers, might as well unlock this, and we get just like 1 stack each of time crystals and fixite trigons, and then once the pod returns and our supercomputer stash fills up, we will be able to unlock quantum encoding officially. And we're actually going to probably have to scan some hard drives, so let's get that scanning process done now. So we're going to scan some hard drives, and we are going to get quantum encoding done, and then scan some more hard drives, and then we will see what's next on the list. Actually, what is next on the list? So, Blueprint Mark III is going to be more useful in the short term than the portals, so I guess we're going to go for the neural quantum processors as our first milestone post this. Alright, the pod is returning. Supercomputers. We fill that up. And now we have plenty. Actually, I think I miscounted. No, wait, no, we need 400. So that's 100, 200, 300, 400. No, we have exactly the right number. So let's feed all this stuff in. And then the rest of those. Alright, quantum encoding researched.
Milestone reached. This is not a competition.
All
but
right.
Other pioneers, such as 83CKY and U531355, had already completed project assembly by this point.
Alright, we are
Fixit was
still pretty
obviously
far off.
wrong about you, but perhaps so was I. Regardless, you have finally unlocked
Yep.
the quantum encoder, which
encoder,
requires
very
vast
cool.
fluctuating power and excited photonic matter to produce highly complex parts.
I
Do
think
not
we
make the same
might
mistakes managing the resulting dark matter residue as you did other byproducts.
need
Project
to
part number 11, the
either
AI
set up the
expansion
whole
server, is now your
alien
highest
power
priority.
production thing
Galaxy-wide project management
to
is
get
taxing to
a
even the most
small
advanced
power
among
boost,
us, especially
but
those who have to manage
realistically
the
we're
less advanced.
probably
Like
going to
kittens
just
and
need
puppies,
to make
who
our
are
nuclear
definitely still
plant
waiting
for the
you to
power.
save them.
Like we are probably just going to need a nuclear. We're going to need more power than what we currently have. Because I mean, we're like halfway there, and some of this late game stuff is ridiculously power intensive, and we're going to be building a lot of it, obviously. So I think we might. I think we're going to get our Mark III blueprints, and then from there go in to the Fixite power plant, which is going to be a whole thing that's probably just going to completely stop progress on everything else for like a long time, but it's what we have to do. It's what we have to do. All right, so I think this is a good point to wrap up for the day. We have a hard drive scanning, we have the pod returning. So next time we are going to make our neural quantum processors. At least we're going to get started with that. What do those things need? Are they simple? No, they need supercomputers. Alright. They need supercomputers, trigons, and time crystals. Excited photonic matter is basically trivial if you have the power for it. And it also produces dark matter residue, which is going to be a whole thing that we need to worry about, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Then we have the dark matter crystals to do as sort of an intermediate part for that, I think. Because yeah, so those go into the superposition oscillators, and this produces dark matter, so I guess we're going to have to deal with that. It's going to be a little bit complicated, but we'll figure out what we're doing there. So, thanks everyone for hanging out. Had a lot of fun. And we will be back in Satisfactory on, what, Thursday? What day is it? Is it Tuesday? Yeah, I think it's Tuesday. So we're going to be back in Satisfactory on Thursday. And, alright, hang on, what's this? Oh boy. A weather alert. Alright, well, that is going to be that. Make sure to follow if you haven't already. And I'll be, let's see. Alright, that weather alert threw me off a bit. I will be back in Satisfactory on Thursday. I stream every weekday from 2 to 5. So tomorrow I will be doing Factorio, where we have just about gotten into space and we're working on getting space science going reasonably quickly. And so if you're interested in that, make sure to stop by then. Otherwise, I'll be here on Thursday, so thanks Ed for hanging out. I will see you guys next time. Bye.